What is the ultimate goal of your life?
Basically leave everything I'm doing right now, including this city, and move out to Goa and just take some time off because I've not got time off since college got done.
Would you recommend any AI tools for the youth who are watching?
Everyone who wants to do a business in the 20s and the 30s should be doing a course in artificial intelligence online in order to understand how you can apply it in your business, and everyone will apply it in their businesses going forward. The one thing I've learned about this kind of career where you're so out there and your thoughts out there and your face is out there is that you have to be thick-skinned. So you will make mistakes, those mistakes will make you better, and when people correct you, just lap it up and improve, move on. The good thing about content is you are your last piece of content. So as a content creator, you always have a chance to redeem yourself, rebrand yourself. Almost like literally the next day you get to rebrand yourself.
So the first question that I'm going to ask you is, you do play multiple roles, and I think that you play them really well, right? Like you do so many diverse and different things. So what is the curiosity aspect that makes you or empowers you to kind of grapple with these different roles that you hold?
I think the curiosity aspect has always been there. There's basically two formats of content. There's entertainment and infotainment. I don't really think there's a third one. And I feel that the prerequisite for being an infotainment creator is to have a really strong, burning sense of curiosity in the first place. So I think it's inherent, if that answers your question. I think everyone has a visualization of where they wish to take life, and I've not gotten to where I wish to be eventually. So I think it's less curiosity and it's more trial and error, but it looks like curiosity to the world. But in saying that, in order to create so much content, you do need to have a sense of curiosity.
And I know, because we've spoken offline about this, that you come from a very, like, your family is filled with a lot of corporate people. I believe that there are a few doctors in there, if I'm correct and I remember correctly. So how was it like? And I know I get asked this question often, so I'll ask it to you. In 2015, what did they say when you said, I want to build a career in content? Because content is not what it was back then, right? Like right now, people still understand content.
There was no content industry back then. I remember seeing your page, and that's the closest you have to like a content creator's journey. You know, there was a one-off situation. It's not at all it wasn't at all what it is today. So that's the context here. Now, in terms of why I started YouTube, I started it in order to market a startup that I was already working on. And once I began YouTube, I figured that, oh, okay, this is a startup in itself. We can like actually build this out a lot, possibly more than the original startup idea. And then eventually I shelved the original startup idea, but I didn't tell my parents that. So for a couple of years of my life, I actually just told them I'm working on a startup, until one day their friends came and said, hey, I saw your kid on YouTube. And my parents were like, what? And then they realized, oh, the kid's a social media guy now. And I was earning money through giving people fitness coaching then. That was my main source of income. It took a couple of years for things to stabilize and influencer marketing to begin. So that was the story.
And when they found out, what did they say? They were just like, what are you doing on YouTube?
So I'm from a family full of doctors. Like, it's been doctors for like 4 generations, and everyone, like literally everyone in my family is a doctor, including all my cousins and everything. So it was very weird for someone to say, okay, I'm not going to cut up bodies and prescribe medicines, but instead I'm going to create videos for a living. So it was literally kind of a groundbreaking black sheep of the family moment for maybe 2 or 3 years. And I'd probably say until even 4 years in, which is up till about 2019, my mom would like tell me to go to an MBA because she didn't understand how this world is working. And then eventually, when things really took off after the Geo wave and just generally my own career took off, then I think my family settled down when they realized, okay, it's a real job.
And it took off because I feel like you're one of those, and I know because I run my show, and I know how difficult this particular thing can be, but I feel like you've nailed it, is that you are able to speak pretty in depth about very diverse topics. And I think that that's something that's very commendable. So my next question is, sometimes when students want to create content, the youth want to create content, there's a little bit of a hesitation on do I know enough, right? Like, and I'm sure that at certain points you face that, I've faced that. So how do you, as a content creator or as somebody who goes very deep into subjects, feel like, okay, I know enough?
I think you only know something when you're able to explain it to a 4-year-old. Like, that's one thing I've learned through the podcast as well. That's the test of real knowledge. I've also done almost 500 episodes now. So it wasn't the case when we began. I think I was just a question-oriented podcaster when I began. Now I have perspective on different topics. But that's because I get to meet the who's who of the world of intellectualism and knowledge. I get to learn from them. I used to read a lot in my early career. It's the podcast has replaced my need for reading. I don't know how I feel about that, but it is what it is.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Outside of you, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting to learn a lot through the show. So every time I pick up a book to read, I think it's usually after a long day of shooting podcasts and learning new things. So then I realize, maybe I just want to do something that doesn't require my brain at this point. But my point is, initially, you've got to be ready to embarrass yourself a little bit. I think a lot of young creators are not ready to do that often enough. You need to make mistakes and you need to be able to embrace the shame that comes along with mistakes.
And have you made such mistakes, Ranveer? Like, have you posted content where, somebody has said that that's actually not true? And, if that has happened with you, which I'm sure it happens to all of us, how do you deal with that backlash? Exactly what you said earlier. Like, people are embarrassed for that reason.
I mean, do you just deal with it? There's no answer to this question because, like, I feel everyone's got their own subjective way of dealing with trauma, or is it even really trauma? Like, the thing is, fortunately, I've had some really good mentors in my journey, and the one thing I've learned about this kind of career where you're so out there and your thoughts out there and your face is out there is that you have to be thick-skinned. So you will make mistakes. Those mistakes will make you better. And when people correct you, just lap it up and improve, move on. The good thing about content is you are your last piece of content. So as a content creator, you always have a chance to redeem yourself, rebrand yourself. Almost like literally the next day you get to rebrand yourself. So it's not even about dealing with the embarrassment, honestly. It's about dealing with those 2 hours of discomfort. And you got to figure out your own systems for it. Go work out, go for a run. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think that that's a huge cause of concern for a lot of people on the internet, which is fair, I guess. Having said that, you said that you get a lot of information from your podcast because you do interview so many different people across industries who are thought leaders across the world, which is like fantastic. But how do you also, outside of that, in your very, very tight schedule, I know that you shoot for multiple podcasts in a day sometimes, in addition to everything else that you do. How are you keeping yourself well informed about, say, a particular topic? Like, I know that spirituality is very important to you, or business or economics. How do you keep yourself well informed outside of the podcast that you do conduct, if you do at all? And what does a typical day in your life look like? So that's 2 questions.
Usually, if things are important enough for you to be well informed about them, they come up in conversation even with the podcasters. So, and I don't think this is that much of a challenge. But generally, the thing is, I think Nikhil Kamath had said this once. It was Nikhil Kamath or Kunal, I can't remember who. But one of them said that the actual purpose of business is self-discovery. So that's how I look at it. And when you go down the route of business and growing teams and growing products, you end up learning a lot thanks to your co-founders, thanks to your leadership course, who actually end up teaching you more than you learn even sometimes from content. So I think this balance of content creation and business has just kept me sane and informed.
So basically, people around you is what kind of stimulates you to kind of be more informed, or the conversations just organically happen.
Yeah. Also, the very raw and honest answer here is, if you're able to talk about things that are relevant, you get more views. That's like, it's as simple as that. And as a YouTuber, I'm hungry for more views. So I want to be in touch with what's happening in society in order to be a commentator on those things.
Right. And what does a typical day in your very busy life look like?
I wake up relatively late. I wake up at 9:30. And between about 9:30 and 12, I take some me time. I relax, I meditate. Usually at 12:30 or so, I begin shooting podcasts, shoot till about 7-ish, workout. Then I have maybe a writing session from 8 to 10. And the writing session usually involves a lot of business related work as well, just having conversations with my co-founders, etc. And then from 10 to about 1, it's some me time again, lots of meditation, lots of yoga. But the one thing I do definitely vouch for is that everyone should cut off people from their life for not adding too much value or over taking away their energy. And the other thing I vouch for is have fewer and fewer social relationships as you age. Just invest in the relationships that actually add to your process or your piece. So for me at this stage, I'm trying not to make any new friends very consciously.
I like that it's balanced, because there's me time, there's like work, and then there's like work with your co-founder. So I like the mix. But having said that, there's a question that often comes up, is that learning is sometimes boring, and people do face that. The youth does face that. So what advice would you give to a student or the youth on how to kind of engender that curiosity to be a lifelong learner?
Let's begin this answer with a little bit of fear. And the fear element here is that AI is here, AI has arrived, and AI is going to take your job away if you're not a highly curious, highly skilled person. Within our lifetimes, we're going to see a lot of people whose degrees eventually don't end up mattering, and it's just about their professional skill sets. That's what will bring them their next career opportunities, the next pay packet. I think in the modern day, there are enough means to learn. What I mean by that is there's different formats of learning that you can take on. While I have read a lot of books in my life, honestly, I'm someone, personally, I feel I've gained a lot more from the world of podcasts, because I was able to listen to podcasts while working out, while running, while driving, etc. That was my means to learn. And you've just got to find your means to learn, what works for you the best. Is it documentaries? Yeah. Is it YouTube videos? Is it podcasts? Is it books? You have to pick up one of these, because this is going to become the edge in your career. And I think if people are attending this kind of a seminar, they are people who are constantly looking for those kind of edges. So it's literally as simple as finding the easiest way to learn and then going deep. Also, Sushant Singh Rajput had once said something which I didn't understand when I was younger, and I totally understand it now. He said that the more you learn, the easier learning becomes, which is very, very true. Like the more stuff you accumulate in your head, the more you're able to grip and retain going forward in life.
He'd also mentioned something about the more you learn, you're also able to unlearn what's not serving you. And I think that's pretty relevant when it comes to lifelong learning. Because I think that only when you have the gamut of knowledge can you drop what's not necessary, right? As opposed to understanding the different viewpoint. Okay, obviously I have to ask you this question. What are your thoughts on ChatGPT? And do you use it? Are you an advocate? What are your thoughts?
As a professional, as an entrepreneur, as a curious mind, I think it's incredible. I also think it's the first layer of new age content that we're seeing. While it can generate scripts now, I think it's eventually going to start generating very intense levels of fiction, movie scripts. It'll be able to create things as large as how large your imagination can grow to being. That's how far it's going to go, and it's going to revolutionize content going forward. So I am an advocate of artificial intelligence as a technology. I recently had someone called Rajiv Malhotra on the show. He's a geopolitical observer. He said that honestly, situations like ChatGPT-3 or any of these other big AI bots that are coming up, Bing by Microsoft, there's one more by, I forgot what the Google one is called. But anyway, these will be extremely powerful weapons for the governments of the countries that these companies belong to. Now, we are actually using ChatGPT and training it in order to become better as an AI platform, while not understanding that Indian AI engineers are also extremely capable, and we should also be fueling our time towards training, coaching, and investing in Indian artificial intelligence-based algorithms. Because as ChatGPT 3 and all these Bing and all these other ones get more powerful, he says, and I kind of agree with him on this, he says that it's version 2 of colonization. Version 1 was the colonization that led to the British taking over India. Version 2 is going to be algorithmic colonization. And I have begun to believe that that is true. So while I think it's incredible, it is the future of technology. But let's just look at it as, okay, it's the first mobile phone company that's coming out in America in the 90s, but eventually great mobile phone companies are going to come out in India. So I'm waiting for the Indian versions of it.
Yeah, so you're just looking at it as base, and you're like, okay, now can't wait to see what all the permutations and combinations that erupt from this very exciting. You mentioned that you like AI in general, and you do. It comes up also in your podcast, and you seem like you love that world. You like tech. Would you recommend any AI tools for the youth who are watching?
On the apps that I'm building on in the companies that I work, they end up buying a lot of subscription-based AI tools. I don't even know the names, honestly. What I instead recommend is something I got told by a mentor of mine, Dr. Ritesh Malik. He said that every one who wants to do a business in the 20s and the 30s should be doing a course in artificial intelligence online. It's very simple to learn. This isn't exactly a coding-based course, but you need to know how AI works in order to understand how you can apply it in your business, and everyone will apply it in their businesses going forward. So that's what I'd like to answer your question with. I don't honestly use any AI software out and out every day myself.
Not even to keep yourself informed or anything. That's what you spoke about earlier.
I just play around a little bit with ChatGPT as I'm reading about AI as a concept. I am reading a book called Life 3.0 to learn more about it. But as I said earlier, I'm reading it very slowly.
That's good information, Life 3.0. So if anybody else wants to grapple with AI, they can pick up that book. That's it for my questions. I think we're going to open it up to the audience asking. I'm sure they have very many questions. So we'll take it as they come up. And I'm going to wait for it. Yeah, okay. Okay, first question's here. What's the best skill, Ranveer, to learn in 2023?
I want to honestly say content creation, because it includes the skill of communication skills as well as actual social media content creation, which will just become a safeguarding tool in this decade, in the age of AI, in the age of personal brands. And again, I'm saying this not from my own perspective because I'm a content creator. I say this from the perspective of Ronnie Screwvala, who said that communication skills cannot be replaced by AI in the long term. There will be space for those human icons. And if we're talking about turning humans into icons, it has to happen through modern day personal branding, which is through social media.
Great answer. I think a lot of perspective. Why do you think dark content will work in the future?
Two reasons. I feel content that really takes off is always a reflection of society. Honestly, society is constantly becoming darker, as all of us are noticing. People's sense of humor, people's, the kind of movies they like. Yeah. Every single documentary that takes off on Netflix always has a dark angle. What does that say about society? So that's why I think dark content will work in the future. In saying that, if you truly look back at the last 100 years, dark content has taken off. Why does horror exist as a genre? Why do people enjoy thrillers and crime so much? So it's one of those evergreen genres, honestly, just like comedy.
No, I feel it because my favorite is a thriller. Like I need to be on edge, like what's happening. So yeah, sad times. We'll take the third question. What's more important, the quantity of books or the quality of books?
Quality, like very easy answer. I read Harari again and again. Though I've read all those books once, I keep going back to them and I gain new stuff every time.
Sorry, which one? I didn't catch that.
Yuval Noah Harari, anything by him. There's just so much packed into those books. He is opinionated. He does push his opinion about like certain things, but he backs it up with so much data and so much historical context that it's nice to even relearn his books. Honestly, if people just read and reread his books for 3 years, they'll be different human beings.
You believe that?
Yeah. It's like decades of information that he's packed into 3 books.
Okay, I'm just going to spin off my own question here. So tell me your top 3 books that you'd recommend for people watching.
I'd definitely recommend Sapiens because it's such a loaded book in terms of it's not just about history, it's also partially about the future, it's about the present, it's about why we think and behave the way we do. I'd recommend, as I do on the show a lot, Autobiography of a Yogi, because it'll show you the true meaning of human potential. I've spoken about it enough on the show. Too many people know about it already. There's a reason that Kohli and Steve Jobs keep referencing that book. The third book I'd recommend would probably be, it's an extremely dry book. It's not a fun read, but it's a book that's impacted me a lot as I practiced a lot of martial arts when I was younger. So it basically encapsulates philosophies of martial arts into one place. And that actually in the long term helps you deal better with your mental health situations. The book is called The Way and the Power. It's about samurai mentality encapsulated in one book. It's by a gentleman called Lovre, who had spent a lot of time with modern day samurais in Japan, trying to understand what their culture was about. And he's done a very good, faithful job to the samurai faith.
Very interesting. I hope everybody watching noted these down. I read Autobiography for Yogi actually after you and Harsha recommended it, and it was amazing. So I would definitely recommend that to everybody watching. Okay, next question. What are the key skills required to be successful in your profession?
I think the number one skill is the ability to take feedback. I think content creation is so lucid. It requires so much agility. It requires so many reinventions on so many levels that you need to be very thick-skinned. You need to understand what people are liking about your work, what they're disliking, more importantly. And you need to have the ability to change it up and move forward very fast. The second skill I'd probably say is just communication skills. I feel there's a lot you can do just with communication skills. I also include writing within communication skills, storytelling, that's a part of it. And probably the third one I'd say is just the ability to connect with people. I think it's a skill in itself.
Okay, very interesting question. I'm super interested because I'm shooting 2 episodes tomorrow for the first time and I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do it? How do you shift your mindset from one topic to another when you have multiple podcasts in one day?
I don't think it requires a shift of mindset because, at least for me, I feel like I become a reflection of who I'm speaking to. So as long as they're in front of me and as long as they have interesting things to say, I don't think this is as much of a challenge as people think it is. So it doesn't require like a shift. In fact, it actually makes things more fun.
Because you can like bounce off ideas from the previous podcast to the new podcast and things like that, the recent podcast. Okay.
Yeah, as long as your physical energy is in check.
Yeah, extremely. So how do you keep your physical energy in check? I know that sometimes you've shot as many as 5 podcasts in a day. How do you do it?
I think if you have a routine in your daily life, like in your lifestyle generally, you do have higher energy levels in the long term. So on days where you really need to channelize your highest amount of energy, you're able to do it. But it happens because of a routine in your daily life. The working out, the meditation, sleeping, waking up on time, things like that. It's very uncle logic. Like it's very preachy. But routines actually unlock possibility.
Amazing. What kind of people do you usually surround yourself with?
Lately, nobody. I'm very gladly becoming a little asocial as I age, and I enjoy that a lot. I enjoy being alone, but it's a lot of my teammates and my co-founders, and all my teammates and co-founders are selected on the basis of basically the vibe. Am I able to like be with them? Are they also growth-oriented individuals? Do they leave me feeling a higher energy level than I did before I was with them? So I'm surrounded by a lot of positive energy. That's what I'll say.
How do you start a podcast?
Start a video podcast. I think the age of audio podcasts is gone by us. It is the age of video. Anyone who says that you only need audio to start a podcast is lying to you or is inexperienced.
What is the ultimate goal of your life?
To basically leave everything I'm doing right now, including this city, and move out to Goa and just take some time off because I've not got time off since college got done. So I don't know what the goal of my life is, but I have these medium-term goals, and right now the medium-term goal is to take a step back from my career at some point when I think the time is right. I won't leave when things are bad. I'm actually going to leave things when they're at the top. Like, I think that's how it should be.
What is the future of content and what type of platforms will be used the most?
The future of content for the first time in 8 years has become deeply unpredictable. Like it's genuinely not predictable. It's changing every 3 months. All we know at this point is, as long as your content contains a very deep amount of emotion and realism, it will take off. That's literally all we know. Now, emotion can be anything from dark to fear to excitement to lust to you name it. Like whatever a strong emotion is, that's what works. But this is a very general rule, and this has been the rule that's always worked. Specifically, what the future of content is, it is going to be a long form in terms of like podcast, like super long form, where people want that realism because that's also a format of emotion. Or as we know, it's going to be short form, as is the case with the reels and shorts situation that we see. But even in those, ideally, you need to pack in some kind of emotion, which also could just be laughter. So something that delivers or invigorates a very strong emotion is the future of content. What types of platforms will be used the most? I believe that social media is at a point where we need a lot of new platforms. And I feel like if the audiences are given options, they will want to experiment with niche social media. That's what I believe in.
One person you would love to have a podcast with?
Virat Kohli.
Same. Of course. Okay, next question. How to start your meditation journey?
As is the case with content, you just start. You don't analyze too much. Just pick up any meditation style that you enjoy, but stick to it.
Out of all your podcasts, which one did you find to be the most informative?
Honestly, this podcast we did recently with Rajiv Malhotra was pretty crazy because he is someone who's dedicated his entire life to technology and geopolitics. And because of the AI situation happening in the world right now, AI has really come through and it's become a mainstream conversation. I think it's his moment of telling the world about his life's work. So I'd probably say Rajiv Malhotra. And the second person I'd have to highlight is Rajarshi Nandi. Is actually an incredibly advanced tantric that we had on the show. Another guy who's dedicated himself entirely to one subject, and we spoke for like 6 hours on the day we recorded with him, but didn't even feel like half an hour of work. That's how thick his knowledge was.
That's fantastic. And what was the duration of the final episodes? Or did you have like parts to it?
We've done 5 episodes with him. So I think 5 episodes were recorded over 6 to 8 hours.
Wow. Guys, definitely check it out. It sounds like a treasure trove of content. You have 2 of Ranveer's most informative podcasts. As a fresher in college, everything is so overwhelming. How do we manage our time and priorities?
Honestly, the reason I don't think I have the right answer for this is because it's been about 10 years since I was in college. And there is a slight lack of empathy I'm able to feel for the current generation because they lived in a very different times. The challenges are different. But I will try answering this question based on what I feel I would have done different as a fresher in college. I would have not taken as much tension about my career as I did, and I would have had fun. Because I think that's your last phase of childhood in your life. So don't miss out on the fun while thinking about work. And at the same time, if you can, focus on your internships because real world work teaches you much more than theory ever can.
Which is your favorite YouTube channel? And don't say your own channel.
I idolize Joe Rogan, so I'd probably say Joe Rogan's channel. And if it's a YouTube channel, an Indian YouTube channel, I really enjoy Tried and Refused Productions. That's a channel I keep going back to from over the years. It's a channel about Bollywood, about the Hindi film, about films in general. But he's got a lot of nuanced insights. So I think, again, films are a reflection of culture. So if you study films hard enough, you will understand what's happening in culture as well.
What's more challenging, content creation or entrepreneurship?
Content creation, by far. Like it's much easier to build money than it is to build fame.
Okay. Why did you name your channel Beer Biceps? What's that story?
I actually began my career as a cooking and fitness YouTuber, so I wanted a name that would encapsulate those two genres, and I just thought it was catchy. It's literally that's all. I wanted to reach out to an American audience and teach them how to make Indian healthy recipes. So I thought, okay, it's a nice Americanized name.
So that's always helpful. Beer Biceps alliteration. How many streams of income should one have?
There's no limit to how many streams of income you should have. I think the limit gets formed when you feel a sense of contentment. So I think ask yourself how far your contentment levels can go. Like, what's your threshold?
How can I cultivate skills that will remain relevant in the future?
I think don't think of it remaining relevant in the future or not, because even if it won't be relevant in the future, if it's a new skill, it will help you for the next 2 or 3 years. And that's honestly how long you need a new skill for, until it becomes a part of your nature. So just focus on accumulating the skills. Don't think about if this is going to become irrelevant. I don't say the same for college degrees. I do feel that maybe higher education is not something worth investing that much money in anymore, but that's just my extremely strong, extremely biased opinion.
What's something you've always been curious about but never had the chance to explore?
A life in Goa. Like, I've wanted that since I was a kid.
But you were just in Goa. I know you took a trip to Goa recently to detach. How was that?
I go to Goa regularly. It's like, I think, my healing center, honestly. I've always envisaged a life for myself in a seaside town. And I saw a video by Ankur Warikoo, actually. He said that you should spend a phase in your life doing nothing, especially if it follows a phase where you've done everything, and then just see how you feel about it. So that's what I'm curious about, honestly. Like, I'm a little curious now about doing nothing. I want to just see what will come out.
Yeah, it'll be refreshing. I mean, I know how busy your schedule is, so maybe either or, right? Like you'll see when the time comes. Okay, last question. Should one start content creation with short-term or long-format content?
Short form, like, it'll advance your career. It will benefit you in countless ways. But more importantly, short format content in the modern day teaches you how to retain your audience's attention, which is the exact skill you need for long form. And investing time creating a 10-minute video now will not get you the results that it got you 4 years ago. So you need to keep up with the times.
It's been fantastic. Thank you guys for having both of us on Thrive.